iPad mini 7 versus iPad Pro M4 speed tests. By the end of this video, you're going to know how fast that iPad mini 7 stacks up to the fastest iPad in the lineup, the iPad Pro M4. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Let's just get right into it. Let's begin with a boot up test in 3, 2, and go, and see which one can get there first. Now, the Apple iPad mini and the iPad Pro share something that I really enjoy about both. Both of them are portable and very powerful. However, we have an Apple iPhone 15 Pro series A17 chip over here, and we have a MacBook level M4 over here. But both kind of represent that same, kind of like portable but powerful factor. And it looks like the iPad mini booted up just slightly faster, which is not shocking. Sometimes, these products just boot up quicker than the other, but that doesn't mean it's going to perform better. We're going to go ahead and see that in this video. All right, guys, so here we are at the home screens, and I want to talk about the general performance really quickly because both of them perform nearly identical on the day-to-day. Besides that, the iPad Pro has the 120 hertz. So I would like to see that on a future iPad mini. And I actually think the perfect iPad would be a baby between these two. If these two had a baby, it'd be the iPad mini Pro. Definitely would be the best. A smaller version with the M4, with the 120 hertz, I don't see it coming, but it still would be a really, really fast, beautiful machine. It would probably cost like $800 though. So you definitely have to pay more. But generally speaking, besides 120 hertz, they tend to perform about the same on iPad OS, which is a good thing for you, the consumer. All right, guys, so everything is closed out for both tablets. Let's go ahead and begin with calendar. And you can see a little faster there for the iPad Pro. Let's head up out of there. We'll go in the clock. And I still think that was faster on iPad Pro. I actually had different pages open. Let's do it again. 1 o'clock. Yeah, a little faster there for the iPad Pro. We'll go into calculator. Slightly faster there on the right. Had an old calculation of something. We'll go into weather here. And you'll see that was faster on iPad mini. You'll see that loading that content down there. And because both of these are iPads, they both load up kind of like the same content. You'll see we were able to get to Tuesday over here, Tuesday over here. So even though the iPad mini is smaller, it's kind of showing the same content. You could see the air quality. It tells you the sentence, and the sentence runs out there. So this is just kind of blown up, but you see the same content on the iPad mini. Let's go into YouTube here. And what we're going to do is go over here to trending. And then we'll go to trending here. You'll see a little faster on the right. This is where you'll notice the scrolling speed a little bit better for the iPad Pro, just a little bit smoother day to day. Let's swipe up out of there. We'll go in the App Store on both. And we had to continue on that one. So I think that's not going to showcase it the best. Let's go into App Store one more time. You can see faster on the right. Let's go ahead and just click a similar app here. And you'll see once in, you could load about the same stuff. But you'll see in here, it does look like we are seeing a little bit more content within the App Store. Let's swipe up out of there. And we'll go into Instagram on both. And Instagram, of course, a lot larger here on the right. Seem to load faster on the mini. But you see the mini is now a powerhouse. That's what's impressive to me. The iPad is twice the price. Sometimes you can get a discount, but usually twice the price. Let's go into X here for both products. You'll see faster there on the right. But definitely both of these, you can see right here, it looks like the iPad mini has the profile page at the top. Looks a little bit more like the phone version, whereas this one looks a little bit better optimized. Looks a little bit more tablet optimized. Swipe up out of there. We'll go on Amazon on both products, and you'll see faster for the right, still with the deals over here. The deals, I go like this because they're not always amazing deals. But let's swipe up out of here. We'll go into eBay, and you'll see on the right, we do win there. So the iPad Pro showing us just a hair, just like if I could find a little hair somewhere on a table, it's just that small. Is that small, just a little hair. Let's go over here of speed difference. Let's go into Groupon on both, and you'll see iPad had that first on the right, but it's unlike before. And we got True Tone on here because this is looking a little bit like banana yellow over there. Okay, not that yellow, but a little bit yellowish. Not a fan. Looks like off-white. True Tone does that, but you can see once in the 60 hertz, a little noticeable. But again, on the mini, I could forgive it sometimes because I just like the portability factor. It's just a whole different experience from bigger iPads. We'll go into Free Fire over here. And again, the faster GPU in the Mini also allows us to perform better over the 6. So again, an improvement for said product. You'll see over here, the iPad Mini getting in first over the iPad Pro. Okay, resources are loading. Resources are loading, but the Mini in there first. Yeah, the Mini beats the iPad Pro M4 right there to get into the game. Is it because it's a larger screen? I'm not sure. Maybe it was loading something different. Swipe up out of there. And we'll go into a casual game, an older one, Temple Run 2 here. Game modes do trigger for both. And we'll hit continue here. And the iPad Pro in the win said, shut up, Nick. What are you talking about on that last load? I was just a little bit behind, but I got you here. So the iPad Mini loses there on the basic game. We'll go into Jetpack Joyride. And looks like the iPad Pro is in the lead again by a little bit. Only by a hair. But the OLED screen, you know, larger and much more vibrant could make a difference. Some people don't like OLED screens though. So the iPad Mini is one of the newest iPads, but still has an IPS LCD Retina display on there. Let's go into Subway Surfers, which is definitely different. For those of you who are PWM sensitive, this is going to be a lot better than this one over here. Not that the iPad is one of the better PWM refreshes, but still, it doesn't. There's none of it on LCD. So it's an adjustment for some people, but for others, they're just going to love the contrast, love the colors, and say, you know what, this looks 10 times better than every iPad before. Let's swipe up out of here. We'll go into Real Racing. And Real Racing 3, a little bit more complex to load. Not serious, but definitely a little bit more than those other basic games. For some reason, the iPad Mini keeps loading the heavier stuff a little faster than the larger iPad. Kind of weird to me. You'll see right here, we're in here for the iPad Mini. Still waiting on the iPad Pro over there, and it's not like it's loading resources. It just took a while to get in there. Again, I would probably rather play it. This is kind of weird. I would rather play it on the iPad Mini for portability. But for size, and if I really wanted to do a long gaming session, prop it up on the Magic Keyboard, connect the controller, I'm going with the iPad Pro 11 all day, every day of the week. Let's go into Geekbench 6, and you'll see this loads faster here on neither. So basically the same. We'll go into Speed Test Net here for both. And again, pretty similar. We'll go into iMovie, and we are going to do a render here. We have this video lined up on both. You can see both very fast. Both support Apple Pencil Pro. And both of them can edit video pretty quick, actually. Even though the iPad Mini is smaller, it can definitely do it. Let's go into LumaFusion. See, now it's faster for the iPad Pro. Let's swipe up out of there. We'll go into 3D Mark. And both of them did pretty well. So I would say that the iPad Mini and the iPad Pro were pretty much equal in just day-to-day performance. The iPad Mini could load some faster. This one loaded some faster. There's really nothing to speak of in your actual real-world day-to-day app launches, app openings, and even inside. You've seen I was opening some different tabs inside of these apps. It wasn't very different. What's really different is the OLED screen and the ProMotion smoothness. That's the thing you really notice on here. Let's get into the RAM test. All right, so let's go ahead and run back through the applications here. We'll see how they do. And you'll see so far, this is 8 gigs of RAM on both. So I would expect this to hold everything just like we do on like an iPhone with 8 gigs of RAM. And we do have to swipe out because of the landscape modes that the iPad tends to go in. We'll go over here. We'll go over here to X, Instagram. And these apps look a little bit more like they fit the iPad Mini screen a little better. They just look kind of more blown up on the Pro, but definitely very fast. There was no reloads. That's one of the major improvements, having the 8 gigs of RAM on here for improved performance long term, as well as Apple Intelligence that comes to this iPad Mini. So I love this iPad Mini 7 just for that. All right, guys, so let's go ahead now and go through the iPad Pro. Now, the RAM management, while it's not going to be substantially different, it's going to look smoother here for this iPad Pro M4. Even though this has the same RAM, I do have the base model. I believe you can get more on one of the higher end trims. But if we go over here, you could see it's going to do about the same as the iPad Mini, just going to have a smoother look. So I do prefer how it looks on the iPad Pro. I'm going to pick this one for just a smoother looking performance. But generally, they both kind of didn't reload anything. So they're kind of matching up pretty equally there as well. And here's how they benchmark. The iPad mini does about a 2829 on the single core and a 6868 on the multi, 3702 for the iPad Pro M4, and 13194 on the multi-core. Now, if we take a look at the single core performance here on both of them, they do better than 15 Pros. Both of them do. And you'll see on the multi-core performance, the iPad Pro just blowing away the iPad mini, closer to that of a MacBook. However, iPadOS limits the actual usage of that performance unless you take it into some rendering 4K and stuff like that, which we'll do render here in iMovie in just a minute. But benchmarking wise, the iPad mini gets blown away in multi-core, but it's pretty close for the single core day-to-day stuff. So that's a powerhouse right there in that iPad mini 7. We already know the iPad Pro is a powerhouse. We don't even have to mention that. One area where the iPad Pro absolutely demolishes the iPad mini is going to be in the 3D Mark. So the iPad mini can perform around a 19 FPS. You know, it can do about better than 68% of devices. So there's probably even phones out there that are quicker than the iPad mini in gaming performance. But the iPad mini is acceptable for sure. It's definitely faster than some base level iPads for sure. You'll see right here, this iPad Pro right here, though, can do 50 FPS on gaming. So absolutely demolishes the iPad mini here when it comes to its actual gaming performance. And, you know, sustaining those graphics is going to be just better here by a long shot. You'll see 98% better overall than other devices. So there's almost nothing beating this in the mobile space in terms of graphics and frame rates. So the iPad is the one you want. If you want them console level games you're going to be playing with your remote connected and all that stuff, you want the iPad Pro, believe it. All right, so let's go ahead and run a quick browsing test. We're going to go to apple.com here on both products 3, 2, go. And you'll see both of them very nice. We can also scroll down and you'll see both of them do well. I do see a little bit of jumping there for the iPad mini with that 60 hertz. But nothing serious. Let's go to another website. We're going to go to yahoo.com here in 3, 2, go and see which one is faster. And I couldn't really see it much, but I can see one thing. The iPad Pro is definitely showing more content than the iPad mini, which is nice if you want to consume media. The iPad Pro is probably still going to be better. When scrolling, if you scroll slowly, you don't really see that difference with 60 hertz in ProMotion. But generally, you can definitely tell. Again, it doesn't really bother me though on the iPad mini 7 just because of its price point. It's not like $1,000, it's $499. Plus you can usually trade in and get a really good deal on the trade-ins. So iPad mini to me is definitely worth it even with 60 hertz. But this is just seriously impressive, the iPad Pro M4 in browsing. Let's see which one could actually render the video faster. This is 4-minute clip right here. So we're gonna hit save. Go ahead and hit save video right here. And we'll see which one could do this export a little bit quicker. And as expected, the iPad Pro M4 absolutely won that test. And as it gets longer, the iPad Pro M4 will pull ahead. So I think that's the area you'll want to consider this one. And of course, bigger screen is going to be better for editing video. So unless you're just like need the most portable mobile editing machine on the go, the iPad mini will be better than this. Like on airplanes and, you know, smaller, tight, crammed spaces. Other than that, the 11-inch iPad might be the perfect sweet spot balance if you want a big screen, but not too big, like a 13, but still powerful enough to do MacBook level performance and renders. That one definitely has it. So at the end of the day, I've been wanting to test these two, wrapping it up. But the iPad mini still impresses me, the 7 version, 7th edition. It does need some upgrades. I think it needs, probably can use an OLED screen going forward for a little bit higher end. It could use probably an M series chip if they want to make a Pro version of this. That would be cool, and especially a ProMotion display. Face ID would take this thing to a iPad mini Pro, but if they don't do that, they can continue to update this with at least a 90 hertz to 120 hertz LCD. They can also give it, you know, an Apple A18 Pro chip in the future if they wanted to. So you could do something like that as well for another future upgrade, because that's also a very powerful chip. But the iPad Pro M4, I think, wins it here, but not by as much as I thought. It really comes down to what do you want, because both the iPad options are freaking amazing right now. The only iPad option that's not super amazing to me is the base level. They need to upgrade that thing because it has a iPhone 12 series chip. That thing is just way too old. So thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.